COVID-19 reached our shores, you were Deputy First Minister. In those key early days, your government took the decision to move untested and even COVID-positive patients from our hospitals into our care homes, costing tens of thousands of lives. We know now that the assurance that Nicola Sturgeon made to Channel 4 News that she would retain all of the messages, not just her, but her top team, for the inquiry they knew was sure to follow, was a lie. That actually every night they were going back and deleting all those messages. Those messages were key to the culture and calculation behind those decisions and may forever deprive the COVID-bereaved families of this country the answers they seek. Can you understand why families who used to trust you now feel so utterly betrayed?
I understand the deep sensitivity that everybody feels about the COVID pandemic, and we all lived through that. And as a government minister, I lived through the difficulties and the challenges every day of trying to take the right decisions, particularly where information was developing and emerging about the threat that we were facing, because in 2022 we had a very different impression of COVID than we had in March 2020.
Did you ever delete any messages?
Well, I've set out my position to the COVID inquiry that I followed the Scottish Government's information retention policy at all times, because the Government's information policy says that everything that is relevant to the handling of the pandemic
how do you know what's
should be...
That's for an inquiry to decide.
Well, there's an obligation on everybody to make sure that information is placed on the government's official record. I followed that to the letter, and all those issues were explained to the COVID inquiry. We can never know that, John. We can never know that, because if you've deleted it, we can't know it. It's not there anymore, and it's not there for the families at the heart of this who are looking for answers. And isn't that... John, what's rotten about your party right now? It's the constant back covering, the covering of your tracks, protecting your mates, and nobody ever really takes responsibility for these big scandals, and they are. And that, I would say, aside from all the things that Douglas has talked about, the deletion of COVID WhatsApp material, which denies those families answers, is the biggest scandal of devolution. I want to move on to, I think, what is perhaps the biggest failing of your government, and that is that while the pandemic is in large part over, there are many, many thousands of young people in this country who are still toiling and living under the long shadow of lockdown. Many of them are in a state of mental crisis, but if they come forward, they join the longest queue in the National Health Service. We've talked about this over many years. Liberal Democrats have fought your government tooth and nail to take this seriously, but it is the longest queue in the National Health Service. Can you tell me, what is the strategy? Why do you recognise how badly you've let these young people down? And talk is cheap, because you've told us that you'll fix it before, but where's the plan? And why have you cut tens of millions of pounds out of the budget along the way? Well, the government is putting in place record expenditure in the National Health Service.
You've cut back expenditure on mental health.
I'm very, very happy to answer the questions. So the government is putting in record funding into the National Health Service. Indeed, Douglas Ross has just been pressing me about tax changes that we've made to enable us to invest more in the National Health Service. So we're investing to ensure that the healthcare services are in place to meet the needs and the expectations of people in our country, and that includes young people battling with the challenges of mental health services.
You've cut the money.
No, Anna Sarwar, it's your turn.